He had told him to check on Thelatis developments in Yanu. It felt like a long time had passed due to the reincarnation through the primordialdine wheel. But it was much more terrible. It was 6 years of complete despair. He said that the heavenly demon had disappeared. It was an evil trick by the demon cult. There was chaos because they didn't know when the heavenly demon would return. The protagonist thought that the master might be alive. At least there was a small hope. Although to go to Tianan immediately, he didn't have the strength, information, and means. He was especially lacking in information. It seemed that the traders were using all methods to find the master. Since he couldn't be found according to the available information, he had to look further. He came up with a plan for the patriarch of the Tan clan to visit the Nine Dragon clan. He heard rumors that the Dark Lord Tun Moonhawk wanted to create a special security unit. If he joined this unit, he would be able to use the clan's spy network. Then his chances of finding the master would increase. While he was practicing, a small spider came to him and said that it seemed like he was on the verge of mastering the 12 strikes of the fierce eager. The protagonist thought that this was an advanced, basic technique taught to wandering warriors. A martial art that uses fists, palms, fingers, and feet as deadly weapons. If one strengthens the body, pushing it to the limit through extreme training using the poison dragon cultivation technique, taking the spiritual elixir, and purifying the blood and channels, one can achieve this. He looked at the table with a dissatisfied look and asked, "Those pills again?" The spider agreed and said that he couldn't help the young master in any way, since the security was too strict. He said that if he was of no use, he would turn him into a spiritual elixir, too. The spider was worried about this and said that he asked to believe him. He had done his best. He started eating the pills, agreed, and asked if there was any other news. For example, where is the Dark Lord now? The spider said that he didn't know when he would arrive, and about Yu Chung. He had just returned. MC took the rest of the pills and said that the Dark Lord's visit was approaching, so it was logical for him to appear. Is that all? The spider said with a serious look that he had seen him and his mother meeting secretly and discussing him. This caught his attention, and he asked if they had a secret meeting about him, and what did they talk about. He listened to this and asked, so they will try to get rid of him during the Dark Lord's visit and think that there is a secret patron behind him. Apparently, they read too many dramas in their youth. However, for them to recommend him to the security deep, he was thinking about getting there, but they want to do all the work for him. However, he does not like this state of affairs. They still try to humiliate him. Yan came to his room, knocked on the door, and told his Nomito the young master. He was a little surprised by this, turned to the door and said that he can come in. He brought a bowl with a strange liquid, and said that the lady said that it was a tonic for him. We was confused by this, and asked, didn't she say not to give him anything to eat? He said, in a worried voice, that she said that he had already thinking, and as a reward for his suffering, she gave this to replenish his energy. He chuckled at this, and thought that this old witch was too predictable. He sighed in displeasure, and said that he could leave it here. Hin said with a worried look that she wanted to see him drink it. He started drinking it in front of him, that from the looks of it, this crazy woman mixed poison in it. However, since he had already mastered the poisandrigan cultivation technique, it wouldn't work. He was surprised when he tasted it, and thought that this was actually 100-year-old ginseng, mixed flowers, and a small amount of madness poison. There were even purification poles. This elixir was so wonderful that just one dose would help restore energy, and even enhance it. But with such a large amount, the elixir would infect the brain with toxins. As expected, there was poison in it. The ghost Walvery, angry at this, and asked loudly, how dare she give the young leader poison? This fool from the Namong clan must be crazy, the spider asked loudly. How dare she slip such a thing to the master? He looked at him with a displeased expression, and mentally said that he should follow her and find the sorcerer who helped her. He agreed, and immediately jumped out the window to do this task. He put the cup on the table, and thought to drive him crazy with poison, and then use magic to turn him into a puppet. Is this her plan? I wonder how strong her sorcerer is. He turned around and asked if he had already drunk it all. Then why was he still here? Hunim said with a surprise experience. that there was a martial artist waiting outside. He was sent here by the lady. He walked outside and was met by a man who said that his name was Ten Gong, a martial artist assigned to train the young master. Although it was not for long, he hoped that they would get along. The protagonist looked at him and thought that he was known as Thuarier of the Fierce Wind. This is the Storm Squad's most valuable martial artist, and one of the 5 strongest martial artists in the 9 Dragon Division. However, he is so lazy that he has long since stopped fulfilling his duties. Why did he suddenly become his marshal? Artist Gong showed him 4 fingers, and said that he was asked to train him for 4 days before the clan leader visit. He looked at him and thought, so what? He agreed because he was too lazy to help with the preparations for the festivities. Regardless, this woman amazes him. By appointing him as a martial artist, she made it seem like she really cared about him, all the while wanting to take over his mind in order to humiliate him in front of the clan leader. He wonders what kind of plan she is following. She has something like that? He asked with a serious expression. What will he teach him? Gong calmly said that he was asked to train him for 4 days before the clan leader visit. He won't show up twice, so he should pay close attention. Immediately after that, he started walking around him at an incredible speed. MC saw it and thought it was a shadow movement technique. He stopped next to him and said that this is a shadow step. He looked at Hyman, asked, is this the technique that you can use? He agreed and said that this is the basis of the shadow step arts that the young master uses. He sighed in dissatisfaction and wondered, is she going to exalt her son by comparing him to him? Gong said that the shadow step is perfect for using with poisons or hidden weapons. He left footprints on the ground, so he should just follow it. He looked at it and thought that he moved like a shadow while leaving clean footprints on the ground. He deserves the title of the Furious Wind Warrior. He was about to leave with a small smile and said that he showed him how to do the shadow step. Now he should try it again. He was about to say something else, but did not have time because he said that he had already learned everything. He looked at him with a calm expression and said that he had already learned the technique. This surprised Gong, and he said that he didn't think so. After all, he had never studied martial arts, and the shadow step was quite difficult. It took about 10 days for the new recruits of the storm troop to just learn the form. Even a genius like him needed 5 days, and to truly understand the meaning of the form, it took 3 months. Wui chuckled at this, and thought, did he just call himself a genius? He said, what do you mean? That's how long it usually takes. Gong started. Till even said that if he understood, he should continue training. He was dissatisfied with his behavior, and said that he already said that he learned it. His words also irritated him, and he told the young master that this is not something he can just see once and repeat. He asked if he wanted to bet on it. He bet 30 silver coins that he got the shadow step right. This caught his attention, and he asked, with a small smile, is he no interested? As far as he knows, his monthly salary is about 10 coins. He should bet at least 3 months of his work to turn this into a real bet, right? Gong said that shadow stuff is an invaluable martial art created in the spirit of the Tan clan. He wants to bet money on such a thing. He looked at him with an arrogant smirk and asked his martial artist, is he scared? With these words, he was able to hurt him, then turned around and said that Thuarier of Fierce Wind himself said that it took him 5 days. It's okay. He will continue to train on his own. Gong asked Kadam to stop with a big smile, and said that he was pretty good at hurting egos. All right, he will take the money as payment for disrespecting martial arts. The protagonist looked at him with a smile and asked, so he agreed. Right, no way, can't go back on his words, okay. He was about to say something, but at that moment he used this technique and very quickly appeared behind him. He was very surprised by what happened and turned to him. He held the money bag in his hand with a smile and asked this martial artist, was he going to drink today? Maybe he shouldn't spend. It surprised him even more, and he asked, did he manage to take his coins too? This is simply impossible. He is deceiving him. When did he manage to learn the shadow step? He calmly stood in front of him and said that he had just learned it. Had he ever had the opportunity to learn martial arts before? Gong asked with a shocked expression. Is that true? But how could he do this after only seeing it once? He looked at him with a satisfied smile and asked, does he really not believe in him that much? Does he want him to show it again? Or does he not have any other techniques to learn? It's just that this technique was very boring. He's probably too genius for this, right? Not only are his pockets empty now, but his confidence is also empty. Gong said loudly, with a very dissatisfied look. He should wait. He will win back the money, right now. He knows many more difficult secret arts than Shuup. He will see how far he can go. MC said with a smirk that he must be pretty confused. Not only because of what he did with Shadow Whip, but also because of the stolen wallet. He has never personally studied martial arts, but in his life as the heir to the cult, he has met many famous martial artists. This allowed him to memorize the form of many basic martial arts. The ghost of an elder flew to him and asked the boss, was it good, wasn't it? He agreed and said that no matter how talented he was, it would be impossible to steal his wallet, since he was much stronger than him. Unless, of course, the ghost helped him, was very easy for them. Now it was time to empty his new teacher's wallet and his martial arts. 4 hours later, we was repeating new techniques, and said loudly, this is a butterfly chasing the soul. How about the physical arts of the stormer, the 12 rotations of the storm? Gong was very unhappy about this, since he was spending his own money on this, towing back his losses. The ghosts looked at this, and said that he might be a heretic, but he was still sorry. This was his unfortunate fate, being associated with the heir of a cult. This reminded him of his suffering in life. He asked with a satisfied smile, is he ready to continue? He fell to his knees with a sad expression, and said that Heck'll no longer borrow money from the bank. He asked with a smile, then what about the last one? He gritted his teeth with a dissatisfied look and asked, didn't he realize that he had no money left? He pointed to the many bags of money, and said that that's why he wanted to propose to go all in, like a real man. He asked with a worried expression, was he going to sell him into slavery? The protagonist said that that wasn't quite true. He had an unimportant martial art that he wouldn't be able to copy so easily. It was the storm dance. He was very surprised, Bithis, and called out to the young master. This offended Gong so much that he began to emit a strong aura, and said in a serious voice that he could still understand the other techniques. But the storm dance was the soul of the storm squad. Putting this technique up for debate was like disrespecting the squad, which is the core of the 9 Dragon Diva. He asked him to refrain from mentioning it. MC looked at him, and thought that he might seem simple. Buth shouldn't forget that the one standing in front of him was a warrior of the fierce wind. From the storm squad. He asked if he didn't have the right to learn the storm dance. Gong continued to emit an aura, but he calmed down and said that of course he had the right to do so. Since he was the son of the head of this branch family, he had shown Ito both the first daughter and the third son, so it wouldn't be difficult for him to show it as well. He called him by name, and said that he wasn't talking about his rights as the heir. He asked if he admitted that he could learn it. This surprised him, and he was about to ask something, but he stopped. He looked at him with a serious expression, called out his name and full title loudly, and asked if he thought he was strong enough to become a storm. Did he have the right to continue the mission of the storm squad? Gong was very surprised by what he asked, and began to remember the past. He thought that after that terrible defeat, their squad had fallen into decline. However, they could become a true storm again. It had been 20 years, the storm mission that he buried in his heart. He never thought that he would hear these words from the young master, the weakest of the heirs. He said that his words about the storm mission had stirred his heart. However, he had just proposed the storm dance on a bet. He couldn't believe that he was actually sincere in his words. We clutched his chest, and said loudly that he was in great pain. 4 hours ago, when he first met him. If he had asked him to teach him the storm dance, so that he could continue the storm mission, would he have agreed? He was about to run away, after showing him the shadow step once. He turned away from him with a confused look, and said that he couldn't deny it. So he had deliberately mocked him, so that he would accept his bet, and acknowledge him. Now I see he had heard rumors that he had changed. However, he also sees that he has actually been hiding his intelligence and strength. The martial arts he showed him, including the shadow step, are martial arts that would be difficult to perform with his body 2 months ago. 2 months is not enough to accumulate infiniteral energy, meaning he has been accumulating energy for a long time while hiding it from the lady. It was only just before the Dark Overlord arrived that he decided to reveal his hidden claws. This is truly a devious plan to deceive his family. The protagonist thought he knew that this was considered a compliment in the Tanlin, but it was still strange to hear. The ghosts beside him said that this idiot must have seen the true value of the heir. He can't help but admire the most skillful order in the divine cult. He became angry because of this, and wondered if he should turn them all into. He asked if he would teach him this technique or not. He was thinking about it, and the ghost said that there was no point in resisting. After all, no one could resist the sweet words of the heir of the cult. This was their reason why he made so many people swear allegiance to him. This made him even more angry. He decided to make pills out of them, turned around and grabbed them. Gong, with a serious expression, said that he would teach him the true storm dance. He turned to him when he heard this, bowed, and with a small smile said that, in that case, he a member of the Tonklin requests teaching from his master. A smile appeared on his face because of this. He bowed too, and said that he, a member of the storm troop, the warrior of the furious wind, accepts his request. He began to use the technique and said that, unlike the previous martial arts, the storm dance would be difficult to learn so quickly. He looked at him with a smile and said that he was offering him a change of bet. He was embarrassed by this and asked, "Are they splurging?" He said with a big smile that they would bet on whether he could learn it by the end of the day. The loser would buy the winner food and drinks. He chuckled at this and said with a smile that he would owe him dinner. Then Sinsk was confident that he would win this time. Now he had to watch carefully. He jumped high into the air, controlled through and currents, and thought that the former members of the storm squad had promised not to interfere in matters concerning the inheritance of the head of the family. Therefore, even if he continued the storm, he would not be able to support him as the next heir. But for the rest, it would only mean one thing. A new storm would soon appear that could join them on the way, and with whom they could drink. After a while, Gong turned pale from the shock and thought that he didn't care about the lost bet. After all, the greater the own master, the better it would be for everyone. However, this damn guy didn't even share a single drink with him. Heck, at the many plates of food that he quickly ate, and wondered what kind of dinner this was. The owner of the place came up to him very happily and asked if he needed anything else. He said with a very sad expression that he was asking for another bottle of alcohol. He couldn't watch this while sober. The MC looked at him and asked if he was a drinker. Then they should have gone to the Dragon Tower. Gong got upset about this and asked loudly if he even knew how much it cost. This bar was also quite expensive. It was the most popular restaurant in these parts. He started drinking the alcohol that was brought to him and asked if he was willing to foot the bill, even if it was a little expensive. But who knew that he wouldn't enough to spend his weekly food budget? He thought that going to an expensive place like the Dragon Tower wasn't in his plans either. There must be a lot of people here. He left a small dark mark on the table and thought Thath had to hold back for 2 months because of the ban that Sayang had placed on him. However, he could not postpone his plans any longer. Ghosts with worried faces said that this was a binding spell of the revered demon god Mythos. Did he come to this place to leave such a mark? He thought that he needed to let their comrades who were currently in despair know that he, the heir of the cult, was still alive. After some time, a spider sat on a branch and said that it had already been 10 days since there had been any suspicious encounters. How much longer should he sit and watch? He noticed a person walking into the building and asked, "Isn't this the uniform of the Qingchang sect? What is she doing here? I see this woman must be the clan's first daughter, Qin. How will things develop if she meets the daughter of the Naming clan? He hopes that this child is okay. Now is not the time to worry. Need to make a good impression on the young master, and ask him to be more lenient." He jumped on the wall of the building she entered, and heard Sun Young ask loudly, "Is she going to break her mother's heart?" Kyujun said loudly that it was nothing compared to the pain she was causing Wui this time. She locked him in a room and forbade him to eat. She said with a calm expression that she doesn't have to worry about him, since someone is secretly taking care of him. She needs to focus on the Dark Lord. These words made her even more angry. She slammed her hand on the table hard and asked in an angry voice, "Is this an excuse to treat him badly?" She's sure that she didn't even know about the assistant's existence before punishing him. Didn't she try to kill him? Sun became worried about these words and asked why she was so angry about which illegitimate child. Is she even her daughter? Kyun looked at her with disgust and asked, "She never forgets to remind of his illegitimacy, right? Thench will reveal the truth to her." She started to leave, and her mother became very worried about this and loudly asked to stop. Her daughter didn't stop, and she said with displeasure that she had always been too soft since she was okay, but it got worse once she joined the Singchanjing sect. How was she going to take her father's place in this case? The spider looked at this with a confused look and asked, "How should I report this to him? This family, is it a complete mess?" Seong slammed her hands on the table really hard and said loudly that it was all because of that freak. She didn't need to wait for the Dark Lord to visit. There was someone there, right? She had to leave immediately. The spider looked at her and asked, what was she planning to do with the young master? She must be going to see us. At the same time, the protagonist was practicing in the square and thought that it had been 10 days since he had made his spirit follow her, but there was no news. There should have been connections through the Revereedman god mythos, even in the 9-Dragon district. Either those people had left, or they were unable to act due to some kind of restriction. In any case, the situation is clearly not good. He needs to hurry up and become stronger. Gong looked at his practice with a confused expression and said that he was doing well, and was doing well with weapons. He looked at him and asked, "Ish, still dissatisfied?" He looked at him with a confused expression and asked, "Does the person from the Tanlan teach us weapons instead of stealth techniques and poisons?" That says it all. Why did he learn the storm dance in the first place? He thought with a slightly worried look that the people from the Tan clan were fixated on one path. He said that this technique, off-throwing flowers, is the Tongo technique. That's why the movements were so disjointed. He looked at him in surprise and asked, "Did he notice that?" MC said with a smug look that he was a capable student after all. He asked with a dissatisfied look, if he was such a good student, then why hasn't he learned to be humble? He thought that many sects and clans often have very complex movements in their techniques, because they are trying to express the enlightenment of martial arts in a physical form. However, the Tan clan is known for its hidden weapons and places. The similarity between the two concepts is that they both use tools. Because of this, the Tan clan's martial arts system ensures that the tool that was used can be recycled and used again in other ways, even if the martial arts technique is different. Although the clan's weapon techniques are not flashy, they are not inferior to others in Thalist. Of course, these are just the basics for effectively using poisons and hidden weapons. But the 9 heavenly sword he wants to learn is also divided into parts. If he learns the Tan clan's weapon techniques, he is sure that it will help him better master the 9 heavenly demonic sword. Will he be able to more effectively use the sword that was only an unattainable dream in his past life? He is really sorry, but learning poisons and such will come much later. Gong noticed his wide smile and asked worriedly, what is he planning? By the way, Miss Kun is back. Was started to remember her and thought that she was the only person in the 9-Dragon division who treated him like family. She was a relative who was deeply etched in the memory of the previous owner of this body, his sister. He received many letters from her even after he replaced him. Her letters were full of care and affection for him. He really hoped that she would maintain a good relationship with him. However, he was going to become Seong's enemy from now on. Will she take his side when that happens? Gong said that she was going to visit the elders first, so it seemed like she would visit him tomorrow. He said that he had better hurry up then before his sister arrived. He looked at him and asked, "Does Huant to start today?" Then what was he talking about last time? The protagonist said with a big smile that he had already done it at the same time. Yech asked, so he had lasted 10 days without failing. The servant kneeled in front of him and agreed with it. He praised him for it and threw the bag of coins next to him. The servant thanked him for it, and immediately ran out of that room. He remained sitting in his place, and called out to Moon. The man in Thaddeus asked, "Does he need to get rid of him?" He agreed with a smile, and said that he took poison 10 days ago, so Hessel'd be completely poisoned. He thought that even if he told him about it now, this freak would not have Tomato fully recover before the Dark Overlord visited. It seemed that Gong was putting a lot of effort into training him. However, even he needed 8 days to learn just the Shadow Step forms. No matter how hard this freak tries, he will barely have learned the basic forms by the time the Dark Overlord visits. The problem now is his sister. She had a fight with her mother because of this freak as soon as she returned. So, there might be problems with the plan. When she turns 30, she will become the official heir of the 9 Dragon Division. However, his sister is too soft to take on such a role. After all, she joined that Changchang sect and didn't learn the martial arts of the Tam clan. She can't be the heir to the Ninidragon division, so it's only fair that he take on that position. A servant came to him and told the young master that a letter had arrived from the White Pavilion. Yu Chang turned around and allowed him to enter. Hunnam entered their room and said in a worried voice that it was from young Master Wunwei. He took the letter from him and saw that it said that this freak should fight him. He became very angry because of this and wondered, has this bastard idiot gone completely crazy because of the poison? Perhaps this is a trap. A letter that can poison the reader easy to obtain from the Tan clan. However, it seems he didn't do so. Is this really just a challenge letter? He opened the letter and read that it said that he wanted to redefine their awkward relationship through this duel. He wants to let go of all the grudges through this duel as martial artists. Yuch thought that he must be planning something. Either way, he needs to make a puppet out of him. He turned around and said with a smile that he should owe him, that he appreciates his offer, but will refuse. Hyun bowed to him and agreed. 2 hours later, he received a letter with the inscription, "Coward." He clutched the letter in his hand and said that he was sure that he would continue to send such letters, so he should stop accepting letters from the White Pavilion. The next morning, he saw exactly the same inscription on the wall. This angered him and he told the servants that one of them should immediately go to the White Pavilion and tell him that he would meet him tomorrow at noon in the second training hall. He would personally cut off his head. After that, the servant came back and repeated what he said. The protagonist looked at him and asked why he waited so long if was going to accept his offer anyway. Gong looked at him in surprise and asked what he had written to provoke him. He'd thought about it and said that although he could guess, he looked at him with a sly smile and asked how he was going. Tob come the air, if he had so little patience, he wasn't going to stop him, right? He also smiled and laughed and asked why he would do that. It would be incredibly exciting. He smiled even wider and said that he would then fight his brother and beat him half to death.